Alright, what's up YouTube? Got a tutorial for you guys today about how to make pre-snares and pre-claps. Some of you guys might not be familiar with what that means. It's a kind of sound design technique for making your drums play nice with each other, which pretty much means it keeps your kick and clap from distorting each other and muddling up the mix, so they can both play and have a punch while not impairing each other. So it'll make a little bit more sense when I go into it, but it's a pretty commonly used technique, and it's can make your drums sound really sharp, so it's something to be aware of. So what I got right here is part of a drum kit for one of my upcoming tracks, and I just cut out everything, so we got the only stuff that matters right now, and it's pretty much just a kick, snare, like two snare clap kind of channels, and then a ghost kick. And these are the three components you're gonna need to pull this off. So I'll give you guys a listen to what they sound like before we start hopping in there. And something to note is one of the big parts of this technique is side chaining. So if you don't know what side chaining is, don't worry, I'll explain it. So this is what it sounds like, and there we go. So it's pretty heavy kick, and then there you go. Yeah. So right now we have, I think, 4 snares or 5 snares layered on top of each other, 5 snares and claps, and layering is a good kind of a technique to make those really fat, juicy, very stereo kind of claps. Something to note though, this is if you look in at the MIDI, the kick is actually right on the bar, but 2 of the clap samples, or snare clap samples, are ahead of the kick. And so what this does is it kind of lets them have their moment, lets them, the real punch of the clap or snare in whatever case it is, punch through, and then it quickly gets ducked or sidechained by the kick drum. So this keeps I got a little visual example for you guys of what this looks like. So I think visual examples kind of help people understand, so I hope this helps. So the top purple audio is the unsidechained kick, and you can see, or clap sample, and you can see that there's this little you have your pre-clap, you have a sound starting before the kick, but it just continues going and really messing up the kick when it gets compressed in the end. So after this point, sorry, I had some weird hiccup thing. Alright, but the bottom sample is with the sidechain, and something else to be aware of, a good technique for this is only do it with a couple of the layered samples. So I have 5 total sounds that are being played as the clap snare thing, but only 2 of them are being like triggered ahead of time, and those 2 are the ones that are also being compressed in this manner. So something to be aware of. And so this is just a little visual thing. So this pretty much, it just opens up room for the lovely click of the kick, and then it kind of like lets it breathe again afterwards, so you can have that nice tail. So now I'm going to show you guys what the processing looks like on this. So for this sample, slice 2, it's got 2 compressors actually, which are both side chaining, and this one as well is also side chaining, but it's side chaining all the claps actually. So and this is what it sounds like without the side chains. So we can do a with and without kind of example. Alright, so let me disable the side chain right now, and this is what it sounds like. So still really meaty, but it's you're not really getting that second kick. It's all clap, and you're losing the click. So this is what it sounds like with this processing. So to some, you might not even be able to tell the difference, and that's kind of the goal when you're doing this. Is it's like the idea of good Photoshop, you can't see it, or with good audio editing, your brain or your ears can't pick up on it, but it makes it more, you know, it makes it pop out more. So this is all well and good. This has already been processed, but I'm sure you guys are curious on how to make your own one. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that up. Also, I'm not actually gonna delete the ghost kick because that's a important component of it. The ghost kick is actually what triggers the sidechain. And for those who don't know what sidechaining is, it's ghost kick sidechain is a pretty commonly used technique to make it gives you more control over how the signal is sidechain instead of just taking the raw kick sample. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete these and hold on to a ghost kick, and I'll play the ghost kick so you guys can kind of hear what's the difference. So this is what is sidechaining stuff. It's just a really short little pluck sound, and you don't want to sidechain for the whole kick. You only want the very beginning, because the body of a kick drum is typically all really sub frequencies, and they're not really going to fight with your clap that much. So you don't really need to compress those or compress during that. So so the first step is I'm going to go ahead and pull up a kick. Let's grab one of mine, and yeah, we can go cold kick. Yes, this is all the processing on there. And let me turn off this sound. It's kind of a it's not actually a kick sound, but it gives it a little bit more flavor, which can be interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this as well. So here's bringing down some MIDI. That's on C3, so I want some more realistic stuff. So we'll go for G2, which is actually going to be playing the kick at G1. And if you guys are interested in learning how this is a tuned kick and all that kind of jazz, check out my tutorial on making your own tuned kick drum. There should be a hyperlink there somewhere. Alright, so back to this. Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah, big, thumpy, nothing too crazy. So the next step is we're going to make a clap, and this will be part layering a clap, like how to make a really nice juicy clap. And there's a bunch of tricks to making that happen. It's a lot of producing is just learning all these little ways to, you know, make samples, you know, better, and just make sounds richer, and that'll really like convert to better music in the end. So let's see, let me pull up some samples. Actually, first I'm gonna drop down a drum rack, and wait, that's audio. No shit, I can't put MIDI instrument on an audio track. All right, so here's the drum rack. Get rid of that. I have mine so it's preloaded with samplers. I think I mentioned that in an earlier tutorial, but that's just a good time saver for you guys to use. Nope, don't want to do that. So let's find some snare samples. So I got my one shots, snares. All right, let's see. I was actually digging these line ones. So something to think about when you're making or designing a snare clap kind of thing. You're gonna want to like have a sample that is very strong at a certain, you know, part of it. Maybe it's got a really nice low rattle or a really nice like high end bit, because what's going to happen is we're going to EQ them so only the strong part of that sample is being used. So this one, we're going to look for some more. This one's got kind of a nice body. We'll see if we find something better. one's got kind of a nice like start. Probably won't use that super noisy tail, but we'll go with that. Kind of like this one. This could make for an interesting sample. So let's drag it in there and we'll see if we'll use it or not. So I'm looking for a mid-range. Some of these, ooh, this is really nice. I like that. So now we got all these in here, and now we're gonna give them some MIDI. So I selected the area, and then Control-Shift-M to make a MIDI clip. Also, just Control-L to loop this section. So I'm gonna solo both of these, so we have them, and we're gonna start writing some MIDI. So it's not as straightforward as just putting MIDI notes on your 2 and 4, because we're gonna figure out which snare is gonna work better for going first, last, whatever. So we'll start with the first guy. So come in here. Alright, so this one, it's got kind of a little chunk on the beginning, so I'm gonna move him up a little bit. Maybe even a little bit more. Yeah, as you can hear right now, there's like, you can almost not hear the click of the second kick, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a compressor on here, and this is not gonna go from the kick. This is actually gonna go from the ghost kick. So I'm gonna bring him down, and something to make sure you want your attack on 0 or as close to 0 as you can get. Lives goes down to 0.01 milliseconds. That's close enough, because you want it to hit instantly right when the kick hits, so you open up room for the click. So here we go. Yeah, we're getting a little bit more. I'm gonna turn up the knee so it's a little bit smoother and maybe a little bit more ratio. Yeah, so these are also gonna get EQ'd, so that one seems about the right spot for now. And so now we're gonna go to the next guy. Hopefully that's not soloed. Alright. Yeah, so we'll leave that MIDI there, and I'm just going to 0 is the hotkey for disable, which is a nice addition in Live 9, just saying. Alright, so this is the second one. Can maybe get a little, it's not, this one's more of the body, and we're going to EQ a lot of the bottom away, so it's really going to, on its own, it's going to be a very thin sounding sample, but when you're layering, you got to understand that's how it goes. So here we go, here's the next one. Alright, so this one has a really nice intro, so yeah, let's see. Alright, so right now I'm kind of like looking for a spot where it kind of melds with the kick. And I think that's going to be alright. So we're probably going to have to come back in and, re-edit some of these once it's all done, but that's all the fun. It's part of the fun of doing this. Alright, so last sample. Let's see what we got. Yeah, this guy's just going to be kind of the meat of the kick, or the snare clap thing. So he could just chill where he is right now. We're not too worried about him right now. So, next step. So we got all of our samples kind of in the right space. So now we're going to play them together and see if they actually sound good together. So they might sound great by themselves, but if we put them together and they sound like crap, well, something's going to have to change. Yeah, so definitely too loud right now. So we're gonna have to turn down the whole this whole channel. So yeah, and this what is this? This guy, yeah, he's causing problems right now. He's kind of taking over all the other samples, so we're gonna have to edit him. And something else to notice, it's got a little intro already, so this is kind of the idea of a pre-clap. They've already engineered it in there for you. So so the next part is, this is really, you kind of do it to your own ear. Everybody's got their own ear, so just EQ it and then get the kind of wherever it's strongest and just isolate it there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I take all the sub frequencies out, because we don't want any of those meddling it up. Alright, so you could go. Alright, he seems alright, and this guy's a little bit too powerful. Yeah, so on to the next one. This is a good sample right here. I'm quite happy with this. It's almost got that like drum kit kind of, I don't know, intro part. Very beginning is very nice. So I'm actually gonna. This is another trick that you can use. It's kind of I'm going to move him ahead even farther, and it's gonna sound kind of off for a second. And I'm gonna go into the filter global section, and I'm gonna add a little bit of attack. So and right now I'm gonna turn up the ratio and all this really hard so I can hear it in just the very beginning. So what's actually happening before the kick. Yeah, so that'll work right there. And you gotta always be aware that it's gonna sound retarded until it's all put together, because if they all sound great on their own, they're gonna layer horribly. So that's something you gotta be aware of. So right now I'm gonna try to find that little crunch bit. Alright, once again I'm going to make sure all that the sub frequencies are gone, so I'm just going to get an extra filter down there. Alright, so these two are pretty done. Alright, let's see about this guy. So this guy is going to be more of our punchiness, so this is a pretty important one to get right. So I'm going to go ahead and yet another EQ. Whoa. Alright, so this guy, he's a little more reined in now. And once again, I'm taking away all those sub frequencies. Also, when you're doing this is taking away the sub stuff. It's important for house and stuff where the snares and claps align. And that's another important thing to think about when you're writing like dubstep or drum and bass, where the clap is not on top of the kick. So all of this doesn't matter, and you're gonna want some sub frequencies to give it the extra punch in those genres. So something to be aware of. All right, so we're down to the last snare right here. Yeah, and so we're only gonna go. We only want the end of this one. So that kind of. All right, so now all of them are kind of a little bit better. Let's hear what they sound like together. So this really noisy one, this guy, he's too loud, so we're gonna have to turn him down some. Too much. And so next, this is something some people might not know about drum rack, but you actually can mix within the drum rack. So now this is the next step. Now that we have them all EQ'd, we're gonna work on the panning and the volume to mix them together, because a good snare is a very wide snare, because your kick is going to be mono, so the opposite of mono is wide, so that's kind of what we're going to go for. And I had a tutorial about how to widen up sounds, so those are all game for this kind of stuff. So now we're going to kind of mix them until it sounds right. So this guy's actually, I'm really getting tired of that hiss. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. Yeah. So something, if there's a part of the snare that you don't like, just take it out. It shouldn't be there. So the filter global section is where you can really tune that in. So he can come up now. He's getting low. Alright, so now they're kind of like working together. The next part is we're going to figure out who. So some of these snares, this guy right here, he's just our steady, mono. He'll stay mono, that's fine. This one, let's see what we can do with this. So I'm going to try the simple delay. This is the kind of the most straightforward way to make something really stereo. I'd go into detail about it in an earlier tutorial, but I'm going to see how this sounds. Horrible. Sounds horrible. There we go. That's a little better. Alright, so let's see. This guy can also go wider. So I'm going to, let's try a, this is a cool component of the equalizer in live that sometimes goes unused. So we're going to go the MS, which is mid-side. So right now I'm going to press this to go to the other section, and I'm going to try to make the high frequencies a little bit more stereo in the sound. So anything when you're on S is going to be side. It's going to boost the signal on the side. Yeah. This guy has like nothing right now, so we're going to have to give him some stereo. So I'm going to put a little reverb in here. And let's see, let's get some stereo. I'll give it a little bit longer. Here we go. Maybe I'll loosen up the top up here so I can get some higher. Yeah, so once again, always low pass or high pass. So. A reverb just, it's not fitting in, so he's not going to make the cut. Alright, so this guy could use being a little bit more stereo. So let's try another technique. Alright, so I'm going to overdrive two different channels in different ways. So let's see if this works. So also, part of this is experimentation. So you're going to find some really good and some really bad stuff on the journey, but you gotta try it before you're gonna get really good sounds. That's just how it works. So here we go. Still pretty mono. Let's make it turn on. Let's add a little bit more on that one, so it's a little bit different. And that's also going to add a little bit of power to this one, so we're going to want to drop him back a little bit more. So let's see what we're dealing with now. Yeah, I'm really not digging the low end on this one, so I'm going to have to take that up. Alright, so that's something we can deal with right there. That's they're kind of blending together nicely, so it's definitely a good thing. Alright, so next what I'm going to do is we're going to EQ all of them together to try to merge the sounds and kind of pull out what we want and kind of get rid of what we don't want. So yeah, let's just use Abletons. Alright, yep, drop him in here. So there's some general things just when you're EQing claps. Most times your really punchy hard part is going to be around 1K, so expect to look there and try to EQ around there for you know, that kind of stuff. You're also, for some more like heavy claps, you're going to have some sub down here, so about 100 to about 500 is where you're going to have the meat on the meatier claps. And that's not necessarily bad, so just be aware of that. Yeah, so I'm going to boost around 1K a little bit, and I'm also going to put a shelf up here to give it a little bit more like crispness. So the next thing I'm going to do is, if we look at the signal right now, it's really clipping. So another technique is to saturate everything together, and it's going to distort all the sounds together, kind of gluing them together. So let's see how that goes. Yeah, also something else I noticed, it's kind of, it's favoring the left channel right now because of this guy. So I'm going to boost the right a little bit. A little bit better. So now we got that. Let's pull it back around to a decent kind of like peak. And once again, I'm just gonna, something to be aware about saturation, it adds in a bunch of artifacts. So even though we filtered out all these low frequencies, after saturating, they're gonna come back. So you're gonna wanna once again low pass some stuff. And also just low passing in general is gonna make stuff be friendlier towards your kick, so that's just good practice. Alright, so now the next part is we're going to figure out the compression to a more, like, a little bit more advanced than it is right now. This is just what we're kind of mixing to. So right now the signal is really strong, so it's really cutting into the second kick drum. So I'm gonna add a lot more threshold. So here we go. Alright, so that's a little bit better. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this one and then take it right out of the kick. So now we're going to have 2 side chains going on, and this is just going to help it a little bit. Yeah. Also something to be aware, we dropped the audio in this one, so we're going to want to come down here and clear that out. Alright. And that's, let's see. Yeah, so there we go. That's a nice little kick combo right there. And this is how I design my snares, and that you can have some really, really fantastic results with this one. And it may sound a little bit dry right now, but you got to keep in mind this is completely out of the mix. So sounding a little bit dry in certain places is going to make it sound a lot better when everything's mixed together. So yeah, before I sign off, I'm just gonna, let's see. Yeah, so once again, always remember, when this is just how I felt it sounded right. So when you're doing all these processes, just, if it doesn't sound good, don't do it. So if you put a saturator on, it doesn't sound good, fuck that step. Don't do that, because it's what sounds good to you, and that's what is going to make your music more unique. So if everybody does the same thing, everybody does the same process of this, everything's going to sound blando stando. So just remember, if it sounds good, it is good. So always listen to your ears. So hope you guys found this useful, and I'll make another one in the future. All right, peace.